Hello everybody, this is Dylan and Ashna. They are going to show you how we are making the hand sewn masks at home that we are using for us, for our friends, and also donating it to some of the hospitals around here. So cotton is the best material. It's sturdy and it stays well too. And Ashna will show you how she cuts the fabric and what dimensions she is using to make the mask.
So what you'll need is you'll need a clean piece of fabric, and you'll have to wash it and then iron it to remove any wrinkles. And then it's important that you put two layers of fabric on top of each other when you cut it out so that it's a little bit thicker. So for adults men, we are using the measurement of 11 inches by 7 inches. And for adult women, we are using the measurement of 6 inches by 10 inches. So this one that I have here is an adult's men. So it is 11 inches by 7 inches. And so I cut them out, and then now they're ready to be sewn.
So to sew a mask, what you do is so you have your piece of fabric and then you put it on the machine and then you go to almost the end of the fabric. So like there's 1/3-ish of the fabric left in front of the needle. And then from there, you would start sewing and then go down to the corner of the fabric. And then you don't want to go off the fabric, you just want to get really close to the corner of the fabric. So then when you're at the corner of the fabric, where like the distance from the needle to the right hand side and from the needle to the front of the fabric is about equal, you would keep the needle down in the fabric and then rotate the fabric, and then you can go and stitch the next side of the fabric. So again over here, you are going to stop at right next to the end of this edge of fabric, where the distance from the needle to the right hand side is equal to the distance in front of the needle. So like right here, you could see that the distance from the needle to the right is almost equal to the distance in front.
So that's about 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah. And then you would turn the fabric to the side again, and then you would stitch this side all the way to the end until it's the same distance away from the end. So then when you're at the end over here, you'll turn the fabric and stitch down going to the last corner of the fabric that hasn't been stitched yet. When you get to this last corner, you will rotate the fabric again. This would be the last time you do that. Keep in mind that whenever you're stitching, you keep both the layers of fabric exactly on top of each other, and they do not slide around. So then when you're stitching this last bit, remember it's the same side that you started on, you're going to go again to about 1/3 the way down the fabric and then stop there. So then after you go over there, you would stop and take the fabric piece out of the machine and cut the strings that are still left. And then make sure you cut the other 2 strings that were there from when you started. And now what you would do is you would cut a little bit of each corner off so that it's like a 45-degree angle, and you have just a slice of the fabric missing from each and every corner.
So this is optional. If you want to do it, it helps when we inverse the material.
What you do not want to do is cut over here, where then the stitching will be cut off. You want to make sure that the stitching does not get cut off. Instead, you're cutting on the outside of where you were stitching. So then once you've done that, what you have to do is then you have to turn the mask inside out. So you still have this opening in the mask, and using that, you push the entire mask inside out. So then when you've turned the mask almost fully inside out, what you would do is, because the corners are still very like blunt and not very sharp, you would get like something straight, like a pen, and then you would stick it in through that hole, and then each and every corner, you would just use the pen to push out, and so that it becomes like a lot sharper of a corner. Like this corner is a whole lot sharper than this corner over here. So then you would do it again for this corner. And then for the last corner. If you did choose to cut the edge, the corners off before you turned it inside out, during this step you would get cleaner results and the edges will be sharper. So then once you have done that, you have the mask again, but then you would notice that you still have one open end over here. So then what you want to do is, so if you see here, the fabric line over here is like this height, but then over here, that open end has more fabric sticking out. So what you want to do is you want to just fold that in. You want to do that on both sides so that you can pretty much just line it up so that that entire hole looks like it never existed. So now what you're going to do is stitch along this edge, starting near this corner, and go very close to that opening to make sure you stitch through this layer and this layer, so both sides of this fold and on the other two sides, to fully close that opening. So I'm making sure that I'm stitching really close to that edge, and so that the opening gets fully closed. Sometimes, because it's super thick, the machine will not it sometimes takes a little bit of effort to get it to start. Now it is okay if you start a little bit off of the edge, because we will be going back to that corner. So remember, you want to make sure that you stitch this opening on this side closed. So on this seam, you're stitching a whole lot closer to the edge than what you were before. So now we have stitched the entire length of where the opening was. And then what you would do is, because we are going to put a piece of string through the fabric, you would fold this corner up just a little bit so that you could put the string through and continue and put it on your face. So then you would stitch, and then you would stitch right onto the beginning of this piece of fabric. So then when you're getting close to the beginning of that part of the machine, you would need to raise the bottom part next to the needle up, just to help this fabric go underneath to the needle. So then at the very beginning, the very first stitch over here will be harder for the machine because it is thicker over there. So then when you're very slightly into this part, That's again where you would turn the fabric. And now you want to stitch down this end of this crease to leave a hole on this end where you could put the string through later. So again, over here you want to be stitching close to the edge to leave all the space possible for the string. You also want to be this edge to be closer to the middle if you can, just so that the mask is a little bit bigger. Now when I get almost to the bottom of the fabric, I would stop and turn the fabric again to go down this edge of the fabric. And I want to stop a little bit before so that I could fold this side up as well. So when you're doing this side, you do not need to worry about the opening because before we have stitched this edge close. And now you would fold this side of the mask up just a little, again, just enough space for you to put your string through the piece of fabric hole. So then again, when you're close, you may need to lift the bottom of the machine up just so that you can get the fabric into the needle. And now, when you're just slightly inside of there, you would turn the fabric, and now you want to stitch all the way to the end of this piece of fabric. And now you would go, and now you're done with the stitching, so then you can just take off the fabric, cut these two strings, and then you can cut all of the strings that are sticking up in this corner from when you started the stitching and then now when you end. So then you have this mask and it's the correct size to go over your face. So then what you would do is you would get a string like this. You want to cut about 4 feet of string out. So this is a foot-long ruler, so I'm just going to wrap the string around the ruler 4 times. So it is approximately 4 feet long. So now that I have wrapped the string around the ruler 4 times, you would cut the end of the string, and then what I would use, and then at both ends you want to create a small knot to stop the string from unraveling at the end. So you would create a knot on both ends to stop the string from unraveling, and then we will continue after the knot is made. So now you have a knot on both sides of your string, and then you can use scissors to trim just a little bit closer to the knot so that you don't have a big amount of string after the knot. So then for the next step, what I use is a bobby pin like this. And then you can just put the pin onto the string. And then you want to create your knot a little thicker than what I did right now. So on this side it is a little better. So that when you have your pin on, if you try to pull that way, the string will stay on because the knot is there. So then what you would do is you would get your pin, and put it into that hole that we had sewn earlier. You just put it there. And then you would like sort of wiggle the pin through. Like what I end up doing is I hold the edge where the pin is and push it in and then just pull the back part out. So then when you get the pin out the other side, you have the string going through that edge of the mask. And then from there, you would go and do it on the other side now. And now you have the string all the way through the mask. And now you would remove the bobby pin. So then your mask is now complete. And to wear it, what you would do is you would get this string that is on the mask and you would put it behind your head. A little bit higher though. It would go, and later it'll just fall down, so you could just hold it down here. And then you would hold the mask where you would normally keep it, but if you were wearing a mask, and pull both of the things.
Dylan, put the string, the back
And
part
then
lower, and then put the mask up.
Oh. So that's one way you can wear it, and then tie the knot down there. Or you could wear it the other way, which you put this long part down, and then put the mask in front of your face. And then you would tighten it by pulling on the two strings, and then you would tie it behind your back.
Take it from above your ear.
Yeah. So then make sure that these two strings are not in front of your ear like this, but instead over to hold the top of the mask up. And then you would just tie a knot on the back of your head to wear it. Thank you. And then to take it off, it would just be the opposite. Untie the knot and slip the mask off.
So another way to make the mask, one method is what Dylan just showed, and that was the easy way of making the mask. But the other way, if you want to make the pleats in the mask, then this is how we would make it. You do everything the same way and then flip the material and then stitch all the four sides around. So this is the finished product stitched all around. And now I will be doing the pleats before we make the loops for threading in the ties. So all these loops, they go in the same way. You just make the pleats out of it and they go in the same direction. You can make either 2 or 3 depending on what you feel comfortable with. So I'm showing you with the 2 loops right now. And then just stitch at the edge of it so that the loops or the pleats stay in place. Do the same way on the other side also and stitch the pleats in place. If it's easier for you, you can either use pins to hold them in place or you can iron them before you're stitching. That makes it easier many times. Now you have your pleats stitched. Now to make the loops for putting our ties in, we just turn it, give it a 1/2 inch gap from the end, and at the very edge just stitch it, keeping this space hollow in between so that we can loop the ties in from there. Do the same way on the other side and stitch at the very edge of it. And then you still need to thread the ties in the same way that we did the previous loop, but this is the mask, and you would use the bobby pin and the tie to thread it in through here and here. The way we would wear the mask, there are 2 ways of wearing it, but if you wear it this way, it's easier. For the girls, it's even more easier because then we can just tie the upper loop above a ponytail or above our hair if we want to. It keeps it more in place. Also, the ties are sometimes useful and better than the elastics because the elastics, those loops go around the ear, and that when we are wearing it for a long time, it irritates above the ears right here. So having these ties are easy on the ear, especially when you're wearing glasses or wearing a mask for a long time. The ties are working out better than the elastic ties over here. So if you don't want to use it, you can just open it and keep it down, and then again when you want to use it, tie it back up. Washing is easy. We would prefer hand washing rather than throwing it in the washing machine, but these can be washed and reused as needed. And this is the finished product. We can iron these so that the pleats stay well, and that's the finished product. Just hold it above your nose and this can be pulled down right here. So this is how a finished pleated mask would look like. Again, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, and be safe.